I hit the button and we're not. There we go. There we go. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Wednesday. It's the Mattriarchy. I am, of course, your humble host, Matt Rhys, coming to you from Scottsbluff, Nebraska. We've got the usual crew. Actually, it's not so usual. Twitless is the only usual one here.
Yay.
Yay. And joining him, of course, is Cartoonicus. Thanks for coming on, man, last minute. And,
hey, sorry. Hope I'm not barging in here. One minute I'm working on a comic, the next I'm being told, hey, they're doing a live stream about Anthros.
And the man of the hour, the star, the featured guest, ladies and gents, is Connery from Dragon Multimedia, who's wanting to come on and talk about a book he's working on. Now, is it done? What's the status of it? Let's talk about this thing.
So it's currently work in progress. We got the mini comic completely finalized and everything. That's been paid for and dealt with. We've done a couple pages so far. The writing is all done. Most of the character sheets all done. We're working on some. Obviously, we're waiting for the Indiegogo to finish to finalize the book. Obviously, because of scheduling and stuff. We're looking at a December to early 2022 delivery date.
Okay. So, what is the story of your book? It's called Shyft, and if I was a good host, I would have pictures to share.
I've got you covered on that. In fact, I already have.
I was hoping you would, because I had problems with unpacking the thing. My 7-zip wasn't responding to me, and it was like, and I got in kind of late, so I was
you can use the campaign if needed.
I've got you covered. If I already have the, we can start off with the promo video.
Sweet. Is that what we have loaded up here?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Oh, okay.
So just give me a second, and I will get that started.
Well, let's see here if it. Okay, it says I've got audio. So.
Yep.
Shapeshifters.
You got that?
I have no doubt you heard of them. Everyone has at one point. Werewolves, vampires, the million variations we have yet to discover. The idea of living alongside those creatures is fascinating. But what if you are one? My name is Sunny, and I am a shifter.
I like the animation.
So yeah, the animation was one of the things we got done early on. We hired someone actually on Fiverr. He was a bit of a newbie, but he did such a great job. Again, we hired him actually again for our live stream graphics, like the animation there that you see when we do live streams. He actually was the one who did those, and again, he's done such a great job on everything he's worked on. So,
all right, so I'm pulling up some. Yeah,
that's a whole different level for me. I'm just some guy in my basement with a laptop. So, I do have a microphone. That's that's
in line, buddy. We all do.
I don't.
But that's what I've got. But yeah, so that's cool. I do dig the quality on the video there. And so you have a mini comic done. Is that available for people to check out?
No, it will be included at the end of the book.
Okay.
As a little bonus. It's a 1-page mini comic, so I'll explain a little more when we get to it.
Oops.
Don't show your Discord.
Well, you can't get to it, so.
Well, I know, but again, you don't want people to literally raid those servers.
Yeah. There we go. I meant to share that. There we go. I was trying to get
in there.
It was up, and then like something happened, and it went away.
Yeah.
So this is the cover for the comic.
Yes, this is the main cover. You see a little brand mark that was done by Michael, who helped out with designing at least the layout for the cover with the little watermark, the text. he helped out with it, and then the art is done by our artist Ringo and our colorist Laura Adams. So,
And so,
again,
are you says it says here that you're the creator.
yes,
This is your project. This is your baby.
yep.
You did the writing as well, or you're co-writing
I
it,
did
or
the
what's the story?
outlining, and I did do a little bit of the co-writing because obviously I do have creative control on most situations. But Odin did most of the fine tuning and also added a couple set pieces and stuff.
Okay. And so, how long have you been working on this property? This concept?
Since last year.
Okay. And is this your first comic then?
First comic, yes.
And had you written things before that, or what's kind of your story getting into writing?
I have written things before. I've written a couple of short films under the Wild Animation Network brand, which is a brand that I do projects with Gio, my good buddy. And I've worked on several projects under WAN, including Astronaut Reborn, which is our latest one. We're currently working on Sandalston as well on the side. But this is the main project that I'm fully leading on, and I have full involvement.
Okay. So tell us a little bit about your world, right? I mean, obviously, it involves shapeshifters.
Mhm.
It involves people that are part of that. But tell us a little more about it. Yeah.
So Shiobia is a world of multiple types of people. There are obviously more animal-based ones. There are more fantasy-based humans, like elves and stuff. But it's a world of fantasy, basically.
Okay.
And what they didn't have yet were shifters. Now, shifters are an alien race that they could have potentially unlimited forms, but most only have a limited amount, and they have to train in order to get even to unlock the ability for more, unfortunately, because that's how it works. And most had left because what happened was in the old universe, something happened that I'm not going to explain here because spoilers, but now they're transitioning into Shiobia, and months later, it's when the story starts as Sunny is attacked at work.
Okay.
And she's a complete newbie. She has done a little bit of training, but she's never really been in a situation like this before. So we as the audience get to experience basically what she's capable of as of right now, and we'll see how she grows from the events as the story continues.
So, do the people in the world, are they like that are from the main planet? There are they human kind of people, or are they all like fantasy creatures or what?
It's a bit of a mix.
Bit of a mix, okay.
Because
And
even the humans are more fantasy based. Like there's
okay.
some quirk with them. Like some are more wolf based, some are more elf based, some are maybe even just human, but they have a little asterisk with it, like they have a different form or something.
Okay. And it's a modern fantasy world, right? It looks from the pictures I've seen, they look like modern buildings.
Yes.
Right. Okay.
I'm getting some Animorphs vibes. Were you a fan of Manimorphs?
A little bit. I also was what I bring up is it's a very 2000s love letter, because obviously you get to see a little bit of the art style of the 2000s, you get to see the writing of the 2000s, and you also get to see a very 2000s concept, because again the 2000s was when a lot of stuff sci-fi was coming out. Like you got your Teen Titans, you got your Ben 10, you got, as mentioned, when Animals starting to get reprinted, and as again it was getting popular, characters was a big deal at the time, and obviously not as much anymore because again it's moved to a different gimmick. But again, the 2000s were an era of experimentation after the 90s, and again it was a great era, so I was like, might as well bring it back in a really big way.
I was gonna say I was definitely thinking about Ben 10 when you were talking about how they can keep adding extra forms there.
So, the other question I had, as far as the continuity goes, kind of the world building stuff. Do the people, like on the planet, know that the aliens are among them, or is that something that is a secret that the aliens have kept from the people on the planet, or what's the dynamic you're playing with there?
The thing is that it's a bit of a mixed signal, because the truth is that most of them don't, but some do, because again, they just started transitioning to this new planet. However, some people do have grudges, not because of their powers, but because of personal vendettas. So, as you can see here, this is one of the pages where we're introduced to one of our main villains, who is Bowie. And he's actually after Sunny because of her relationship to her father, and obviously family relationship. And
well, now that we're digging into characters, introduce us to some of these characters, because I can visually see some of Sunny's design. I can pick up a couple things maybe from the trailer, but if you were to introduce me to her, what would you introduce? Like, what would you describe her as? If she were if she were on the panel, how would you describe her?
A newbie who wants to find her call for adventure. She wants to discover herself, because she always wants to be a hero. She gets a chance now, but obviously she's very unsure about things. And one of the big things is obviously that she's a newbie, and due to that, obviously she's worried that she can't do the job as well, and the story also reflects some of her doubts and concerns without telling the audience, because obviously we're trying to do a little bit of a mix of a show don't tell as well.
So she's a beginning hero. She's growing. We get to watch her go on her. Yeah, okay. Mm-hmm. And then you said this character is Bowie?
Yes, the Bowie is the blue cat shark. Basically, the idea was he's had a rough life, and we don't know much about him as of right now, but things do start to show up as the story continues.
A cat shark? Did I hear that right?
Yes.
Okay. Is that him in the background there?
What?
Is that him in the background there on the third panel?
Yes.
I was going to say he feels a little like has a bit of a pirate feel to him, and being part shark makes sense for that.
Yeah, that was one of the ideas that Ringo brought up because the original character design didn't have the pirate elements. That was added by Ringo.
I like it.
He's his eyes really remind me of for some reason of Knack from Sonic the Hedgehog.
I was going to say a Sonic character, definitely.
Yeah, he looks a little like a Sonic character a bit.
It was definitely an inspiration a little bit, because when I brought on Mingo, he did obviously some fan comics in the Sonic universe, but also he was featured in IDW Sonic. He also did a couple of minor comic projects that some never got off the ground, while others are still going. But again, I loved his art so much, I thought I would bring him on, and yeah, it worked out great.
It's kind of a coincidence, because Cartoonicus and I got started by making Sonic fan comics.
And they won't let me see them.
Okay. Don't say I didn't warn you.
It's because they're terrible.
Connery, I don't know if you know this, but the guys that Twitless and Cartoonicus are the writer and artist for Super Schooled, which is a super teen comedy webcomic.
Really?
That's available out there on the internet. It's really funny.
That's cool.
That's how. But I met them because I write a super teen hero comic as well, but mine's not the same, and it's not quite as pretty either. But that's okay.
It's got heart.
It's got lots more heart.
All right, so back to Shyft. So we were just commenting on the villain here. So I know you don't want to spoil too much about him, but if you could boil him down to maybe just a couple of adjectives, to tease the audience here, what adjectives would you use?
Vengeance, ruthless, and what's a good one to describe him? Very menacing.
I like those. Yeah.
He's also dedicated.
All right.
So if he's half cat and half shark, can we call him a catfish?
I guess.
Well,
Though again, trust me, I've had much worse insults thrown his way. Example being wolf shark, and Sunny was jokingly titled tiger spider, and then apparently whale cow at one point by a certain commenter who's not here. So
Oh, jeez.
I feel like that could end up being a lot of like witty Spider-Man style dialogue.
So now the funny thing is looking at like combining animal types as far as these like alien shifters go. It reminds me a lot of the Wuzzles, and I'm probably the only person old
I
enough
actually heard
to
of
know
that.
that.
I'm
You've
gonna
heard of it?
double check and make
Yeah.
sure that is what
Yeah,
I think it is.
I know
but-
what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Because
They were-
I remember when
Yeah, that's it.
I remember watching the Nostalgia Critic before he became bad, and I remember seeing an episode where he brought up the Wuzzles.
Yeah. I was born in the 70s, but grew up in the 80s and 90s. So the Wuzzles were it was a furry animal show. It was like stuffed animals that were like, part bee and part bear and part moose and part seal, and oh hey, these guys, yeah. And there was a
combination of something.
Yeah, I remember
I
seeing
was
a little bit of
when
that.
I was a young person in the mid South. There was a big debate about whether these were subversively trying to push the concept of evolution on elementary school kids.
What?
Yeah, it was silly. I mean, there was lots. I mean, there were.
I don't
way-
see how it would force evolution. It just seems like a silly concept.
it is.
They were
That's
doing this
popularized.
before Avatar:
the-
The Last Airbender was.
That's the correct answer. There were a lot more nefarious things going on there. Oh yeah, insectoids. I remember insectoids.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, from the chat. Oh no, not that one. That one. Insectoids.
Thank you, Dave. And we got Dominic Powell in the chat as well. Good to hear from you as well.
Okay, and here we do have. I'm going to go ahead and drop this in the link. Thanks for the reminding, Connery, because I had forgotten. Because I do that, I get caught up on a thing,
I'll pull
and
up
that thing was the Wizzles.
I also pulled up the Indiegogo as well. If you,
I got it.
Do the campaign as well.
Nope, not that one. Here we go.
I got it. I got you covered. You guys focus on talking about the universe. I'll handle the multimedia.
Sweet. That's awesome.
That's my job. Don't you know what my company's for?
So your first
Beginnings.
it's your first company. I mean, first comic. Is this the first product that Dragon Multimedia has done?
No, because again, as I mentioned before, Wild Animation Network has done some mini projects before. Obviously, we did Oscar Reborn, which started coming out last year.
Okay.
And this is the first one that we fully have. Well, it's one that I fully have involvement in, and it's the first one that I have full creative control over, and also the one that I've created.
And so was the I'm sorry, I'm terrible with names on things. The other Reborn thing.
Oscar Reborn
Okay.
It's
is
a
that a-
mini series.
It's a miniseries, like
Studio PLKS,
Okay.
and I happen to be a writer on it. And because I'm involved with Geo, Wild Animation Network is credited.
Okay.
Which is
And so is that a thing where people can check that out? Is it on YouTube? Has it got a website?
Yes, the link is on the Dragon Multimedia LLC website. I'll put it in the private chat to share alongside the Indiegogo link.
Sweet. Excellent.
But
So we have a question from chat from Dominic. I think we kind of covered this, but if you want to just very quickly touch on that, maybe just list it. What was the inspiration for Shyft?
So the inspirations were, one was my dog, another was my dad, because he had brought me and introduced me to all these new types of media, including comics and movies, and also obviously the 2000s, a lot of shows there, because again, obviously it's a great era, and again, it's really a great era to explore, especially with the style.
So what made you decide on you're doing like animation or film of some sort? What made you decide on comics for this project?
I've always loved comics. Truth is, it's one of the cheapest ways to tell stories, and I'm a big storyteller. So obviously, my love for comics has been one for years. Like, I can tell you that some of these comics were not recent pickups. Like, some of these were from years ago. Like, this one, you ever heard of Aggregator or Aggregate?
No.
I don't know that I have.
Like, this is insanely indie. It was at a convention nearby, and I picked it up. It was cool. And then there's also a lot of other books I have as well. Like, obviously, if you had no idea, what's a good one to show? I got some alternate stuff, like Keith Gleason.
Mighty Mascot.
Yeah, Mighty Mascots is a fun book.
Yeah, it's a really fun one. I actually met the guy in person. He's a great dude.
The thing I love about Mighty Mascots, I'm going to put myself on the screen, not my whole myself, but I've got you on this solo layout. The thing I love about Mighty Mascots is how like much they commit to the bit. Like it's a little silly, it's a little cheesy, but it's so sincere and it's just so much fun because of it. I mean, it makes it a perfect all ages book because they're really willing to dedicate to the premise, so you don't have to question it going in. It's great. It's great.
One of the things I've also been doing is trying to buy as many books as I can from indie creators I've been on live shows with. So I got a comic from JD Cauldron since I was on a live stream with him. I also have Forbidden from another podcast that I was with.
Oh,
they actually have an Indiegogo right now. Who else? I got Nightfall by Ace, who I was on a live stream with. I met them in person, by the way, so some of these are in person. I bought recently The Ace because I was on a live stream with him as well. And I also have some other books as well that are non-live stream that I just bought just because. I have this ukulele backwards edition of the comic they did. And I also have some other stuff as well. So I also was probably one of the only backers who, at the time, backed the first issue of Wrath, which was by Scott Keish, who I actually talked with recently in a Twitter space. So it's nice meeting him for the first time.
Yeah, I picked up. I won a copy of Wrath with a contest that his publisher put together last fall, but I haven't had a chance to read through it yet because my reading stack keeps getting taller.
Oh, trust me.
So one thing that's been brought up a few times is you said that this is a love letter to the 2000s. You were like the 2000s era. If you wouldn't mind, describe for us what makes the 2000s era? What makes that style? What elements of the 2000s style do you like the most that you're bringing to Shyft?
Its uniqueness, like the style with the animation stuff. Like each era has a certain animation that's used a lot, but is well liked. Like the 2000s has that little bit of a anime-esque, but still a little bit American-ish style where it's cartoony, but it's also not to say realistic because obviously cartoon logic, but it is a very sophisticated style. So it's not like the 2010 style where they just went all cartoony but were lazy with it, and they actually put some thought.
So you're not a fan of the Cal Arts Tumblr style then?
Not as much as people thought I would be, especially since they're trying to target to us since we're the upcoming generation. Because now we're going to start working and they're trying to market towards us because obviously we're the ones who are about to go into these jobs and stuff. So yeah, it's not 100% working. Like I like some of the shows, but a lot of them are generic. Which
if
sucks,
I may suggest perhaps the the influence of Bruce Timm in the 2000s?
Bruce Timm, yeah, a little bit.
How did you get this stuffed animal thing?
So this is a 3D model of the plush designed by Stuffed Animal Pros, and it will be handmade. They're still working on it because it does take like several weeks. I literally ordered the model like months ago.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously it's taking a bit because it is a bit of a complex design, but obviously they've been such great help, and obviously, yeah, it was great to partner with them.
I think from the chat, Dominic makes a very astute observation about it. The 2000s were willing to take risks when making different works of fiction, like the 80s and 90s. And I do think that that's something that we see. I think every decade had its own reimagining of some things. There was a Scooby-Doo property that kept getting brought up or something. And a lot, of course, when I was growing up in the 80s, it was the age of the reruns. So they weren't remaking old cartoons. They were just kept showing old cartoons. But we still got new stuff. You got me to watch the Herculoids, but you also got to see Inspector Gadget, that was my favorite. Right.
Yeah, let's just say we don't bring up his reboot because the
that was terrible. Yeah, the thing is, there really weren't.
But it wasn't that great of an effort. Like they tried, but it needed more time in the oven. Like they really need to think things through before.
I think a lot of it was they just didn't understand the property was what it was. It needs. In order for Inspector Gadget to work, it has to be silly and sincere. It has to be both. It can't be one or the other. And that's like I was talking about what Gleason did with Mighty Mascots. It was silly and sincere. That's why it works.
Because again, I wouldn't blame the people at the animation studio. Because again,
no.
Most of the crew are pretty genuine and sincere, and they have done previously great work for the same studio. So it's not like that they're to blame. I think it was just more a development issue. Like it seemed like they didn't want to do it, or they tried to do the best, but they clearly had focus on other things. Because again, the same studio was doing like multiple properties. They still do at times, even after. So, funny story. So the animation studio was DHX, and they split. So what happened was it was shortly. I think it was due to them buying too much. They split the animation studio for Halifax, and they rebranded to a different company. But the problem was they still did so much. Like you got one studio doing this, one studio doing that. It's why the Degrassi studio got completely shuttered because they couldn't handle it because they had so much under the belt that they couldn't handle everything. So they were like, screw it, let's close this one and focus on the other two. And it was around the same time that the Inspector Gadget reboot was coming out. It was literally only like a year or two after probably it was, or during the time it was airing, that Epitome was even closed. So obviously it was definitely a development issue, especially at the studio. Because they had so much in one pot.
Just so I understand context, are we talking about the Gadgetinis or the recent CGI version?
The recent CGI version.
Okay.
Because again, the company, sadly, the animation studio, who were also the IP owners, they bought out a lot of. They had a lot under the belt, but I don't think they 100% knew how to manage it. And it's sad because, again, I do believe people over there have done such a great job. Like, they're still in business for not only the IP library, but also because they got talented people working there or working with them. So it's sad seeing how some of the projects are just terrible or disappointing.
Okay. Well, let's change topic a little bit back to Shyft, right? So you're looking at you're in process with it. The campaign's going on right now. You're looking to ship in about a year. Am I remembering that right?
No, less than a year.
Less than a year. Okay. Are you working on, as far as the writing aspect goes, the subsequent projects? Is this part of a mini series kind of a thing where you'll have a fixed story, or are you looking at
we're
more
looking at a
serialized,
bit.
or-
We're looking a bit of a full series, but we're debating whether to make it, because again, I have mentioned in the past we could do like a full series of like 50 issues, but we also could do like a mini series, like have it be like the first arc, and then we do like 1 or 2 spinoffs, and then close it together with one last Shyft run, where you got the first run of Shyft, then the spinoffs, then one last run with ending it all, and then having spin-offs go from that. But obviously it's in development because we're focusing on issue 1.
So I think there's a very important question that we just haven't talked about yet. You said that one of the major inspirations was your dog, and I think I hear a dog in the background there. So is it the same dog? And even if not, tell us about how your dog inspired this comic.
No.
Just give us the dog story.
Bianca is my little dog. She's a little white Maltese, and the thing is that she's been a very big motivator during the time that it's been. It's 2020 was a very hard year, and unfortunately, obviously, there's a lot that I had to deal with, but she was a great motivator to making sure that stuff would be, obviously, things would be okay, and she was a great support.
How does she motivate you?
Her cuteness and always being around me.
Aw.
Because she always stands by me.
It's like Calvin and Hobbes.
That's a
little bit.
That's great.
Yeah.
And that's
a good reference, though, because I read the books when I was younger. I'm probably the one guy who also read Bone.
Oh, that's early.
Oh yeah, they had it in the library. The annoying thing was that the last issue, they didn't have the last issue until I think a year or 2 later. Oh my god, it took so long to finally read that. So,
goodness gracious. No, but I love in a way that this is kind of like a comic story of a boy and his dog in a way.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. That's a great meta story to add to the comic there.
Yeah, it definitely is a bit of a person in their powers with the way it's handled, but again, it is obviously something that me and Michael have discussed.
Well, I don't know if you tuned into my show before, but one of the theories that I go on about, it's a literary concept that I play with. I call it the heroism of the mundane. And I think that a lot of our adventure stories and action stories and hero stories and fantasy stories that we as humans have told each other through the centuries are really ways of wrapping our normal life into metaphor, right?
Yes and no.
Yeah. And I think that, so, I mean, I think that, when you read the story about the man slaying the dragon to save the princess, that teaches boys that they need to be bold if they're going to be husbands, right?
But the reason why I say yes and no is because when I put Shyft into production, one of the things I wanted to do was tell a story that wasn't my own, and that Sonny is not a self-insert, and while some of the characters might feel like me in writing and tone at times, they're their own thing. Because I believe that the best characters aren't ones that are us, but are us in a way that speaks to us while going in a different direction.
Well, yeah, of course. I mean, first of all, I think every writer puts themselves in their characters because how else can you write? But because your experience, right? But more than that, I mean that there are universal experiences that people have. So not every story is autobiographical, but good stories are gonna. If you're a good writer and telling a good story, you're gonna touch somebody's life because we all experience similar things, not identical things, but similar things. And so that's what makes them. It's just like, all protein has the same chemical components because that's what we can digest. It's the same kind of thing. So I think that having your dog as a motivator because who your dog drives you to be makes a lot of sense in terms of telling the story about a girl learning to be who she needs to be.
I think Shyft, again, It obviously is a good way of saying, but again, the idea shift is that it's an ensemble, but issue 1 obviously it starts slow with introducing who Sunny is, and then later on when everybody comes together, it's more of a united thing. Like, it's not just about someone in their powers, it's about multiple stories of people coming together because they don't have much of a choice, because they're like, well, someone's got to have to save the world. So it's a little bit of the idea of people can be selfless as well. So
okay, cool. So Sunny is the starting place,
yes.
and then her story branches into other people's stories.
A little bit, yes, because again, Sunny will still be the main character, but obviously when it does become a group, it will become a little bit more of a trio focus. So obviously each character has their own problems, but it's simplified in a way that obviously it's great to read, but also it's not boring like some of the worst comics, but it's also not too little that you start to get taken out of it.
I'm intrigued. Okay, so give me an example of a boring comic.
Oh,
Boring.
I expected you to say.
Let's just say, what's a good example?
And you haven't read any of mine yet, so I know I'm safe.
What's a good one? Oh, I know. I'm Not Starfire.
Oh.
Because the problem with that one is, it's a bad comic because it fails to understand what makes a character and what makes them likable, while also the fact that it goes in the wrong direction and any interesting ideas are thrown in the garbage because they're done poorly. Have you considered offering a digital edition of Shyft? So, yes and no. Obviously, we prefer physical, but there is a digital PDF that does come with the comic. We're debating how to deliver it, if it will be like Comixology or a different service, or one that doesn't even, you just literally put in a code and you get it for free. Again, we're still, obviously it's a topic of debate because indie comic, while also we understand that digital comics are very useful, even if they do lead to piracy. Obviously, piracy is not really a problem with it's not really a problem with my comic, but it's a problem of if you aren't delivering a service, of course people are going to pirate it. So obviously we want to make sure that issue 1 is not only delivered, but also gives people a reason to come back for more. And if people are interested for piracy, if we do the digital edition, then great. Again, obviously it's the digital edition is still a little bit of a sour note, especially in comics, because obviously digital comics aren't always great for business, but again, it is something that we are considering, especially since it does come with the tier.
It's so funny. I have a story. I have a comic, a superhero comic that I've published on Indie Planet. I'm trying to see if I can get it on Comixology next. But I was trying to share just some promo stuff on a forum, and they said, "Oh, this is great." And I was hoping to just put promo stuff on there and have people like, "Hey, cool." And someone was like, "Are you not going to post the pages here?" And I was like, "Excuse me, what?" And this other person was like, "Well, you know what you should do is put every single page on the forum after a certain time or something." And I'm like, "Okay, so not only do you want to basically pirate my work, you want me to pirate my own work for you and post it on this forum." And to me, that was a lie. That was a bridge too far. And I was just like, no. If you want to pirate it, you go get your galleon yourself. And
well, I mean, you really could. Well, I don't want to spill all the secrets, but that's the thing that's funny to me about that is I don't personally what comes with the indie comics, at least on the scale that I'm at. I don't really worry about piracy, right? It's not really a huge concern to me, because if somebody if somebody wants it, some of our digital stuff I just give for free anyway, because we're just in that place, so it's not a huge issue for me. I understand people being concerned about it, but
no, I'm in the same boat with you.
Yeah,
It was the extra step of will you do
Yeah.
all the work of posting it on the forum for us? And I was like, no.
That's the kind of the next thing around that I was going to get to is this sort of like, it's not a promo, man. Look, I'm selling these. They're dirt cheap. You can go buy it, and then what you do with it is between you and God.
Right, exactly.
It's like, would anyone ask Disney to put out 600 million free copies of Endgame after 6 months?
Oh, they probably would.
Why would they? I mean, somebody's already pirated it.
Right, yeah,
Good point.
exactly. That's the thing. Is it's like, don't ask me to pirate my own work. If you want to do the
But
work
then
of
again, if they
pirate it
ask,
yourself.
if they give you money, then they'll do anything for money.
Yeah.
But anyway, well, if you're selling it, it's not really piracy.
Yeah.
But no, that's the other
pay
thing.
me, and I'll let you steal my work.
Yeah.
It is free after you've paid me.
Yeah, it's exactly right.
Yeah.
The other thing about digital, though, a lot for some people and who are out of country, shipping gets to be so expensive that it just closes the work off to them.
Oh, of course.
And that's one reason I know we've had some people ask about digital stuff just for that exact reason. Either because they're curious about it, or they're just like, well, I don't live anywhere near Scotts Bluff, so how am I going to get your thing?
It is something we definitely considered because with the comic, there is a shipping worldwide. However, it's a little more with everything except the featured tier, which I'll get a little more into when we get into the campaign. But the nice thing with the featured tier is that it's $20 either way. So if you get it worldwide, not only will you get the digital if we're still planning it, but also you get access. You basically get access to a tier where it's basically $20. You can get it shipped your way. It's cheaper than other tiers, at least with the shipping, and you can get a copy of the book without it costing as much as some of the others. Which is one of the things we did consider when we were working on the book.
Cool. Well, give me just a... Let's take a look at that campaign, and oh, that's not the right thing. I grabbed the wrong link. I pulled up your website. That's a little embarrassing.
Is it the Indiegogo? I've got the Indiegogo.
Oh, you got that? Okay. We'll let you do the thing. I'll just push the little button and call it good.
All right. All right. So where do you want to go to in the campaign?
To the top.
Top. Yep.
So obviously we're 31% of a goal. We're currently at $1,258. The reason why it is flexible is because we are committed to getting the book done, whether we hit the goal or not. If we don't hit the goal, it will be at a slightly reduced quality with some of the elements, but we are committed to getting everybody the book. So if you do back it and you don't refund, we are absolutely 100% committed to making sure that not only you get the book, but everybody who backs it, any of the tiers will get the rewards as well. And so, yeah.
Yeah, let's take a look at some of those. I guess we can take a brief look at some of the perks. We've got the top tier one here, which is the
I Love Shiobia, also known as Loving Shiobia tier. This is the one where it's flat rate shipping, $20, ships worldwide, but again, it's the cheapest for the worldwide tier because it's the same price if you're getting it nationally, and you get all free copies of the book, including the standard edition, the 2 variants of the special B and C edition, where you get a little more content, including some more behind the scenes, and we're still debating what else to include as well. But you also get a t-shirt in red, any size that are listed on there, along with a plushie. All for $65 plus the $20 shipping, and it's the cheapest way to get into the book if you're a worldwide customer.
Gotcha. And we got the physical lovers for $10.
Yep. This one is the physical copy of the normal edition. which is 25 pages of story of the main story plus some extras, including the mini comic and some behind the scenes.
All right. And got some variants there.
The variants are for the special B and C edition, which are a bigger version where you get a better cover, different art, as well as also more content inside. You're scrolling a little bit too much.
Oh, sorry.
And obviously, you can get them both in the I Love Shiobia edition, which is why we're pushing it, because it's the best value out of all of them. But also, if you don't want all of the stuff, you can also just get one of the editions and get whatever add-ons you want, which I'll bring up a little more of the add-ons later on. So there's also the Signed Deluxe Physical Lovers Edition, which you can decide which cover you want when we send the surveys. And they're $50 out of 20 because of COVID and how we're all doing physical signings of the books. So absolutely no digital crap. It's actual signatures. So as such, it's limited due to COVID.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously it being a little bit more of an effort to do so. And then the next tier is the Art Lovers tier, which if you scroll down a little bit...
I've got the Art Lovers right here.
Oh, there's also the Retail Lovers, which is for retailers in the United States. If you want 10 copies of the book for $50, you also get a little bit reduced shipping compared to if you just get 10 copies of the book through the standard tier. There's also Retail Lovers add-on as well, but same price and reduced shipping if you want more books with your order. There's also the Art Lovers tier, which is a limited tier where you get an art based on the book, where I'm pretty sure we decided it would be the original pages from the book, but I'm still chatting with Ringo just to make sure that he has them ready. So there's also the Custom Art Lovers, where for $200 you get a custom piece done physically by Ringo, and he sends it out to those who go for it.
Oh.
Alongside the comic and the I Love Shiobia bundle as well. So, and then for $250 is the big cameo tier called Supporting Lovers, where you can get a cameo in the book, and yeah, it's also one of the bigger ones because you get your character drawn. You need a reference, but you can get it drawn in the book. And
all right. So, ladies and gentlemen, those of you who have the Anthro OCs, this sounds like the tier for you.
Yep.
Cartoonicus, nudge, nudge. You can see his avatar is, in fact, what his OC for his. I'm not going to spoil, but it's a
avatar. That's a picture of me.
Oh yeah, yep. Exactly.
I am literally a cartoon anthropomorphic cat.
Yeah, and this is me. Yeah, nice try.
I'm not a cat, Judge.
I'm not a cat.
Well, you just said you were.
Well, this is actually me. That's what that is.
Well, get in line, buddy. Don't you know that the stylized logos are the best?
That's actually what I look like. I lost that hat though, which makes me sad.
Awesome yes, I will admit I have played my share of Sonic Forces.
Oh my god. Why did you think that playing that would be a good idea? That's probably the most...
Because they lied to us on every possible level.
Yeah, I know. Tell me about it. I literally could not believe how bad that game was at launch.
I played Sonic Mania, which is a good Sonic game, so you know.
Yeah, I know. Trust me. Everybody's been telling me how good it is. They also told me that everybody's more excited right now for the 06 remaster than the Colors remaster, which I believe them. They said that Sonic Unleashed is the best Sonic game. I believe them on that too. And they've also said that Forces was seriously mismarketed to hell, which is true. Yep. So, yeah, I think the fan base is pretty decent at most opinions, except the ones that are crazy, which they thought trying to get someone fired off the media list for reviewing glitches is a great idea. But then again, that's just no, just the crazies. They always do that.
So from the chat, who plans on watching the sequel for Sonic the Hedgehog?
Only
I'm
if
gonna
the
see.
only if the third one is called And Knuckles. Because if they don't do Sonic 3 and Knuckles, the film, I will. I don't know. I'll just die inside.
Okay,
Oh, man.
that is funny. Very
That
cool.
would be hilarious.
But Knuckles is already in the second movie.
That doesn't matter. You still have to name the third one Sonic 3 and Knuckles. Like, you can't not.
Imagine if they call it Sonic Heroes just to piss them off.
Oh, gosh. Actually, Sonic Heroes is not the worst game. It's okay.
All right,
Well, I
you
bring it
listening
up
to this,
because, again-
Hollywood?
If they call it Sonic Boom, I'll have a fit.
That
Oh,
would be
come
amazing.
on. Don't you know that series is actually pretty good?
Yeah.
And then you can have your spin-off series about Sonic.
Oh, goodness.
Wow.
So, yeah, again, I'm probably going to wait and see if it's any good because, again, I like the first one, but obviously I'm a little bit cautious, especially with the writers still being new. And because, again, we thought that after Colors, the writing would get better, and then it went steeply in the other direction. So,
Honestly, the writing kind of went off a cliff after Sonic Adventure 2 Battle.
come on.
It did. Like you
Okay.
had, because after that you had Shadow, and Shadow was a train wreck, and then after that they just stopped taking it seriously for a bit.
Yeah,
It's
that's
Sonic
not
Heroes.
true at all. Because Shadow did not come first, because Shadow came after Heroes. It was
Did it?
Heroes.
Oh, you're right.
Shadow,
Wait.
06,
Shadow was
Unleashed.
basically the end of the.
It was the end. It was the end of the adventure era.
storyline. Yeah.
Okay,
Because
so okay.
06 was supposed to be the reboot of the series.
Either way, Shadow is still a train wreck of writing, and Sonic Heroes is kind of like serious, not serious. I mean, it's goofy and silly in so many ways because there's depending on which story you pick, you get like an entirely different like experience.
Yeah, but it didn't matter because it's all just the good ending anyway. So didn't matter.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Dominic makes a point here. I'm like, are most of the Sonic characters like even gonna be in these movies? Or are they gonna be sticking to?
Again, I don't
Grassroots.
even know anymore because
Yeah.
again, we don't know who the writers are at least in terms of writing power because this is like their one big contribute to the franchise, so we don't know like how they're going to take things with future installments because we don't know how they will be. Again, it's not like the people who were working on Sonic's writing after Colors, which they basically prove that they can't do translation properly, and Force was basically the thing that proved it.
Well, the one thing I like to say about the Sonic movie franchise going forward, is the one suspicion that I had, and the reason that I went to see the first movie. When the first trailer came out and everybody was freaked out because of the design. They just weren't having it, thought it was a horrible design, and they were right. Right? What did the studio do? They stopped production, they pushed it back 6 months, they fixed it. They cared about the property, they cared about the fans. They were dedicated to making a quality picture and the continuity. And I don't know enough to have an in-depth conversation about it.
I hate to be the cynic. Are you sure they cared about the property? It might be a column A, column B, but did they care about the property, or did they care when were they afraid because of the backlash and they were afraid of just losing a whole crap load of money? I feel like
I don't really care which, because it actually had an effect for once.
Okay.
Here's the thing though, the caring for when your job is making gobs of money off of IP, right? Caring for the fan reaction is caring for the property.
Thank you.
Right?
And let's not forget that the guy who produced the movie was the guy who basically did Terminator Dark Fate. So again, that guy basically knew how not to listen to fans at all. So again, it was clear that he didn't have much control over the movie at all either. So
interesting.
So So the point with that is I think that like based on that, I'm willing to see and interested to see the sequel. And that's the only thing Hollywood is selling me. I'm still making my decision about the Ghostbusters movie because
I'm just hoping it's good because 2016 was very mediocre at best.
2016 was always going to be because they weren't actually building on Ghostbusters. It was name recognition only.
They should have done so much more care because again, when I saw the leaked script and the leaked emails, all they did was take a first draft and then literally added improv. That's it. How do you make a movie like that and expect it not to go poorly? And
that's how Megan McCarthy's made every movie she's ever made.
Ooh,
You can do improv in a film. Yeah. I think you need a director who knows how to handle improv
and a cast that really does too. Because that's one of the things too is like and like I don't know if I'm trying to remember the name of the movie that she did.
Spy?
No, not that. That's not the one. I saw the one where the gal who played where Megan McCarthy produced and wrote a movie called I can't remember the name of it. It's about a gal who's this like weird cringy redneck chick whose husband divorced her, and then she goes on a road trip across the country to see her date.
No, it's
the woman's name, like Meg or Molly or Molly. No, that's not it. Anyway, it doesn't matter. The point is that you could tell like half the movie was improv, and her husband directed it. So whatever, but it was just she's really painful in it, and which is the best review ever because I don't even can't remember the name of the movie right now. So that's cool. But
so many bad movies.
What's the name? I can't. The gal who plays her aunt, Sandra Oh, plays her aunt's lover, and her aunt is played by the gal who was in.
It's called Tammy.
Tammy, yes.
Tammy.
Yeah. And
I've seen that on worst movies.
She was in the gal was the aunt was in Get Schmidt. She was in Rat Race. She was in that Stephen King movie about the writer who gets his ankles broken. Spoiler alert. Misery, yeah. But I can't remember her name. Doesn't matter. She was in Tammy too. She wasn't terrible. Sandra Oh wasn't terrible. Everyone else was terrible.
How did we go from talking about shape-shifting anthros to McCarthy?
You can blame that on the Hollywood connection.
I think this is all it's Sonic's fault.
We started talking about it. It is Sonic's fault. But we were talking about the idea of faithfulness to the products. And one of the things that I actually like about new writers. About writers who wear their inspirations on their sleeve, and are still trying to tell new stories with it, right? Is the idea that you can have a shared cultural experience with that, and you can gauge whether they did a good job or a bad job relaying their story through their inspirations, but it's still an honest conversation. One of the things that I really dislike is one of the things that happened with the Answer the Call movie was when people didn't like it, everyone said, "Oh, it's just because you're sexist." That was the cry, or because you hate Leslie Jones. Well, maybe you hate Leslie Jones and still like the movie. Those aren't necessarily mutually exclusive things. Or maybe you didn't like the movie because it's basically the plot of the first Ghostbusters flick, plus farting girl jokes or whatever. I didn't see it. I don't know what's in it.
It was actually worse than that. It wasn't just farts.
Not even a retelling.
Yeah, but from what it looked like and from watching the few things that I've watched about it, the pitch meeting videos and stuff like that, it seems like it's the plot. Even though it's not a retelling of the movie point by point, it's the point by point of what the beats are in the movie.
Oh yeah. Definitely. From what I've seen, it definitely is.
Yeah, I saw the whole thing, and I also saw the fan edit that improved it. But the idea is that they basically took some of the beats, but they made it so that the characters, they didn't have as much struggle. So they literally stole equipment and got away with it. It never came back up.
See, and that was one of the fun things that I really liked about the original Ghostbusters. Just to totally side rail this a little bit, I got to talk about this. The villain, the real villain of the original Ghostbusters is the EPA. It's the government is the villain.
Right.
And I love that. The bureaucracy is the bad guy. Pay attention. Bureaucracy is the bad guy. Okay.
Yeah, but when you compare it with Answer the Call, the problem is they basically make everybody the villain at this point. Like, all of the side characters are either made dumb for jokes or jerks. That's literally the only two characteristics of most of them.
Mm-hmm.
And literally, the main characters also fall into this trap because, again, they steal equipment. They had several incidents in the film, I believe, where certain story beats should have happened that didn't, because, again, they're let off the hook, and it doesn't make any sense.
And
Talking about characters who have no redeeming qualities.
Yep.
Well, sometimes that's the writer's problem, not the character's problem. Let's be honest. You know,
Film is
the
very
writer, the one who creates the character.
Film's a very well. It's.
Or are you talking about because of actors are involved?
That's exactly what I was going to say. Well, and directors, right? Because that's the thing about a film, especially when you're dealing with, like any given scene. You have a writer who wrote the dialogue, you have the performer who performs the dialogue, the director who directs it. So, like, when you get the end result is the performance and the character that comes out of that performance. But it's
again, I blame the director and writer because the director basically gave a first draft and gave it to actors and said, "Act." That's it.
Sure, no. In that specific instance, sure. I'm just saying that in general, as a point of principle, when you're looking at that performance, you're looking at those with three or more intersecting people who result in that performance. So,
of course.
Well, and a really good example of that is if you look at the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie, which was decent. Now, I think the Marvel universe was already dead by then, but James Gunn put together an interesting movie. And one of the things about it that I think was most interesting was that he made Dave Bautista seem like a good actor. Right?
And who is that again?
He was the guy who was Drax.
Drax the
Destroyer.
Yeah.
But Dave Bautista can't act at all, but Gunn, directed him in a way that made him look like he could act with the character of Drax. And it was if James Gunn's done anything worthwhile in Hollywood, that was something anyway. So, but anyway, all of that aside, it is 10 after. I actually have to get going. I know we're going to run it abruptly closed here. Connery, let's go ahead and drop the let me drop the link to your IGG.
One last question by Dominic. Is there
Go for it.
mysticism surrounding the shape-shifting anamorphic animal characters? Mythicism. Let me see what that means. Mythicism.
Like a magic.
Well, I suppose the real question is being asked is, what is the source for all abilities in this universe?
The idea was it's magic-based because the idea was basically, in a nutshell, without spoiling anything, black magic was used as revenge, and then later on, other people realized what it was and decided to start using it for good and also pleasure. But again, this is not a not safe for work comic, so we don't go into that stuff. Obviously, mostly it's for justice.
So, well, cool. Well, before we go, I normally got Twitless to talk about his stuff. And you'd think with Cartoonicus here would be a perfect example, but I just don't have that much time. So what we're going to do instead is we're going to have Twitless wants to share a video, I guess.
Hold on. Let me make sure that I think I shared this correctly. Make sure I share audio not an idiot.
Also, so while he's figuring that out, Connor, thanks for coming on.
No
People,
problem.
I've gone ahead and dropped links to his channel and the Indiegogo both in the chat.
Mhm.
They'll be in the video description eventually, but they're not right now. So thanks for tuning in. And until next week, next week, it's Matt Krotz, #1 Marmaduke fan, Twitless, and myself, and maybe a mystery guest. We'll find out. Discussing American Born Chinese by Jean Lun Yang. If I'm saying it right, and I have no idea. Yang, who knows? Okay. I'm going to add this to
Here's
the
our
screen.
Here's our outro.
So getting back to how Mouse ruined comics.
Okay.
I like Mouse.
No, Mouse is fine.
There's 3 tiers
Yeah.
of art. There's high art, there's pop art,
Hmm.
and then there's low art.
Right.
And then there's Forces of Good and Evil.
Yeah. That is way down there. I will agree.
All right, 30 seconds. Your 30 seconds are up. No more boomer music.